Clint, a lot of guys out there throwing some live BP off the mound. Did you like what you saw? Ollendorf looked pretty sharp. Did anybody stand out?
Well, standing out's a relative term right now. Basically what we're watching is repeating the delivery, throwing strikes, being able to throw their secondary pitches in a vicinity that we want them to. So Ross did look good today. I'm seeing the things you want to see out of the guys that we've already got lined up in our starting rotation. The four guys, Correa, Ollendorf, Mahome, and James McDonald. So there's a number of other guys that are throwing well through this period. We're going to change the scenery here in a couple days, and then we'll tighten our focus up when you put the other team's hitters up there and the bats start flying. But they're all working extremely hard. That's a thing that I'm really optimistic about. The effort, the focus, and the number of strikes they're throwing in live BP.
Has routine set in now where it's, all right, we got past the reporting part, now it's work, you know what I mean? And it's work has begun in terms of, you've set into a routine.
Well, we have. The pitchers and catchers now have been here for 8 workouts. Their work started a while ago. I don't think there's any doubt the position players have gotten in a routine. We've challenged them. We stretched the days on them a little bit. The rep numbers have been increased across the board, whether it be defensive skill work, whether it be team fundamental, whether it be the amount of reps they're getting in the cages combined with the swings on the field, add the execution game into that. So we're in a good place right now as far as following our schedule.
Talk about execution. There seems to be a not disproportionate, but a lot of time spent on base running and trailer plays and relay plays and things like that. Speak to those, what seem like small details, but what turn out to be big details in the scheme of the season.
Everybody here has watched baseball, and I think we all can point to what doesn't go right in the game. And I think more often than not, when you talk about those things that don't go right, it comes down to execution. And more often than not, it comes down to execution of what you understand to be the simple parts of the game. But basically, the great teams, they out-execute other teams. Their ability to execute, do the things they want to when they have to. When it's the 8th inning, when it's the 7th inning, when we do get a guy in a rundown, we put the out away. 27 outs on defense is going to be critical for us to take the step forward that we want to take this year. The execution part of it from an offensive standpoint, if you'll break down situational hitting, you look at the top teams in the league, watch where they rank in the situational hitting, look at the bottom teams in the league, where they rank in situational hitting. They go hand in hand. So one of the things we talked about is how do we close the gap this year with the internal talent that we have, with the personnel that we have, and it's obviously raising our expectation and our demand for execution.
What differences do you see now in Garrett Atkins that you saw in him a few years ago in your Rockies days?
Well, the difference, I just saw a glimpse of Garrett after I had left in 09. 09 was not a good start for him, but it was a short look for me. It was 2 months. I saw Garrett Atkins from 06, 07, 08 when he was one of the premier run producers in the league. What I see now is a man that understands he came up short. He wasn't the offensive player that he had been before. I think he got in some bad habits, some mechanical situations just didn't work for him. And I think we will all agree on the fact that hitting can be contagious. You lose confidence at the plate, it's a very hard thing to recapture without finding some success. The numbers weren't good for him through 09. They weren't good for him last year. So it's able to find a way to put that away, rebuild a stance and a swing, and go back to some muscle memory. I've had an eye on him, so I have an opportunity to hopefully help him along those lines. We're seeing some of that now, but again, the opportunity to get him in games, that'll tell us a much clearer story.
You've talked to him about some mechanical flaws?
Well, we just talked to him about his approach and about his takeaway, getting ready, foot down on time, getting his hands cleared from his body. Yes, we have.
You mentioned, go ahead.
Kind of like Atkins and Fields and Wembley as well, as guys who play multiple positions. How difficult is it to find somebody who can truly excel in a number of different roles? Is it a pretty rare skill to get a guy who can play a bunch of different roles? There's a difference between just being able to fill in there and really be able to give the team something.
Well, there is. You'll look at different teams. You'll see close to spring training as it closed down this year. You'll see a whole handful of teams looking for a utility infield, and they probably brought 4 to camp. They don't seem like a high priority position, but when you can stabilize your roster with a guy that's versatile, we're calling a super U in the game right now, a guy can go to a couple corners, maybe can play some outfield, can do something with a bat and run the base a little bit, they're valuable. They're very valuable. And we've got a handful of guys that we're looking at in this situation, and whether they be in Group 1 or Group 2, everybody's going to get a look. We've finished the part of the entrance interviews right now. 62 men have come through my office with Neil there with me, shaping the focus of spring training, making sure we back up the commitment we made to them over the winter and what their opportunity was going to be, let them know the things we wanted to focus on in spring training and move forward. So right now, everybody's aware of the situation. Those that have opportunities to compete, the games will start. That'll help us. Obviously, there's some guys that we're just trying to get involved in our environment and get a taste of spring training. And that's good also. But those guys we're looking for, we've got some holes to fill. There's no doubt about that.
You mentioned extending practice a little bit, giving them some longer things to do. Is it important to make them a little bit uncomfortable in spring training, something that they're not used to, change it up and give them something to think about, work a little bit when they're maybe tired at the end of the day?
Well, the only way to increase stamina is to work when you're a little bit fatigued. I mean, that's how marathoners work. They build up through it. You've got to run to a distance you haven't run before. You've got to work to a distance that you work to that's a little uncomfortable and work a little bit farther. One of the things we have talked about to our men as a group is one of the separators at the major league level during a game is finding a way with being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's truly something that you spend a lot of time with in the game. How many times do you go up to the plate where you're just locked in, the ball's big, and your swing's right? Well, those situations where we're not, how can we still compete? How can we still execute? On the mound, I've got 5 pitches tonight, I got 2. How do I get through 5 innings as a starter? I'm a reliever. I got 1 pitch tonight. I got no secondary pitch. I got to be able to hit a net in the backside with my fastball, and I've got to be able to paint. So it goes just with what you said. I mean, we need to push them. We've got work to do. The reality of it is we've got work to do. Where we want to go is going to take work. It's not just going to be come out, put a couple hours in, and go through a traditional routine maybe in the eyes of others. We've got to stretch our men out.
I'm sure it's not by accident that Tony Sanchez has been with Doman and Snyder a lot. How much can it benefit a young guy like that to shadow those guys and work with them?
Well, that was the idea going in, Jen, just to give him an opportunity to be around 2 guys that have a little more experience in the game than the other guys. So let the other guys get on the other side of the field and work together, and let Tony hopefully draw from some of that experience with Ryan and with Chris in the catching department, whether it be drills, whether it be team fundamentals, all of that, just the constant conversation. I think it's an opportunity for him to really elevate this spring for him to get ready for this season.
What's been your impression of him so far?
You like what you see, there's no doubt. He's got a live bat, that barrel of play, strong arm. He's been good in all the drill work so far. We'll get some games. We will find some game time with him. That's not a priority one on our list of catchers, but we're going to find some time for him to get involved. But he's definitely a very good-looking young prospect.